myself again, and I'm enjoying a really nice cup of tea. It's the perfect, absolute perfect cup of tea for the autumn. It's called Spiced Pumpkin Pie by the Buebird Tea Company. I hope you can see that. They're based in Tunbridge Wells, and I often stop by and buy all their seasonal teas. In the Easter they have hot cross buns and, you know, chocolate tea and all of this wonderful stuff. But today I'm drinking spiced pumpkin pie, and it's absolutely delicious. I just want to read to you. It's made out of Ceylon black tea, carrot pieces, Halloween sprinkles, cinnamon, ginger, cloves, vanilla pieces. I mean, how much autumnal can one tea get? As soon as I saw this, I thought, that's it. I'm going to have to talk about this in my podcast. So it's episode 2, and it's the 2nd of November, and autumn is really well underway in the UK. In England, the leaves are all shades of this, basically. which is which is the reason why I made this particular dress. We've got golds and oranges and scarlets and magentas, and it's absolutely breathtaking. And there's nothing that I enjoy more, like every sewer and knitter, I'm sure the world over, than putting on the clothes I've made in just the style and the colours that I want, and going out for a beautiful walk with my dog, Baby Joy. I just want to recap that my name is Karina. I live in Kent, in England. I live with my eldest daughter, who very much leads her own life, so most of the time I live alone, really. And I just immerse myself in sewing my own clothes and knitting my own jumpers and socks and scarves and all sorts of lovely things like that. Just a very quick word. I've been really enjoying all the new episodes that have been coming out recently. I haven't written a list of the podcasts that I really love, but I might actually compile a list of what I've been watching over this last month, and indeed the month before, and just have a roll of it at the end of this video. I don't know, I may do that. One thing that has really touched me, though, I've appreciated everybody's makes, and everybody is making some fabulous things, really interesting things. But the one thing that's really captured my interest and that I've been able to really relate to is how this hobby of ours can help us with whatever difficulties we're going through in our life. I find sewing a dress or a skirt from the beginning of the project right to the end to be like a kind of meditation, because I'm able to focus on cutting, planning and then cutting, or indeed even before that, matching the fabric to the pattern. You know, that's just a really enjoyable process that takes up all of my attention. And you're able to meditate on your project and neglect everything else around you. You're not thinking about any of your problems at that time. And of course, I've said that I live alone, and I do live alone. And the reason I live alone is because I have separated from my husband of 18 years. And this happened in March. He walked out. I wasn't expecting it. And it's been an incredibly stressful time. It's been a very upsetting time. And you must excuse that squawking. I'm still in the conservatory and that bird is still out there. Must do it on purpose. It's been a very upsetting time, and I found that focusing on my knitting or my sewing has been able to take me out of thinking about my sadness, my regret, and all the other slightly depressing emotions that I could have been feeling. So here is to our incredible hobby, sewing, knitting and creating, be it stitching anything really. It really is a healing thing. I had visions of that tea being incredibly hot, but spiced pumpkin pie is just the right name for this. So, as you can see, I'm actually finally able to wear these lovely things that I've knitted. Last month, or 2 months ago, in my previous episode, I was trying on all of my knitwear for you, and I was literally having to put it on over my arms because I was so sweaty. And this kind of plume yarn is probably the worst thing that I could have been trying to put on. I also have made a lovely lightweight scarf to actually wear in the interim weeks before it actually gets too cold. What I love about these lightweight scarves is that the prints and the colours of these can be incredibly vivid. And if a fabric catches your eye and you think, well, I can't make a top out of it, what on earth do people use this sort of fabric for? Then get a couple of yards, a couple of meters, hand roll the edges where you cut them. It's usually quite a narrow fabric. So you just roll and stitch along the edge from one end to the other, and you've got something that's very secure, that's not going to come undone, that catches the breezes in the autumn, and the colour just really lifts up your spirits every time you see it. And I think it's a lovely thing to wear in the autumn and in the spring when you don't need those heavy scarves that often you do. I feel like I'm going to do a striptease. I'm going to take off one layer at a time. On days like this, there's nothing that I love more than actually wearing all the things that I've made. So it just makes me so happy to wear a scarf that I've made, a cardigan that I've made, and a dress that I've made. I still yet have to make my own boots and my own underwear, but you know, at the rate we're going, you never know, I may actually start doing that, but who knows. So, without further ado, let's launch into my recent makes, and the reason I made them, what I learned while I made them, with a special focus on finishing edges, because I did start doing some experimenting with finishing edges. So, this dress that I'm wearing at the moment is a style arc pattern. It's an Australian company that I've just discovered. I'm sure people have been, sewing style arc for centuries, and I haven't known anything about it. It's called the Slip-On Susie, and it's a wrap dress, but it's only wrap on the top part, just uninterrupted for the rest. So have a look at this. It's called the Slip-On Susie. Very simple if you look at the line drawing. It comes in a cap sleeve, and it has a long sleeve pattern piece as well. It's a long sleeve, and it comes to just above my knee. I actually didn't mean to cut it so short. I don't really wear anything just above my knee, but I cut it, it turned out short, and so I thought I would experiment. Oh, it's so good for my throat, this tea. I've got a bit of a cold. I thought I'd experiment with finishing. So as you can see, it's from a lovely jersey, and it's got sort of a brushed cotton inside. It's very, very cozy and warm, especially on days like today when you've actually got a cold and you don't feel too great. Well, this dress has got bias binding. It's got an underpiece that only comes down to the waist and is attached to the side seam and of course to the shoulders. And the front piece is a longer one, so the long piece goes over the short piece and it gives you that lovely dress finish that we want. And it's cut on the fold at the back, so there's no seam at the back. I cut the long sleeves, and if you recall from episode 1, I was talking about sewing my sleeves on the flat, and that's what I was able to do again. I sewed my sleeves on the flat by stretching the sleeve as I sewed it to the body of the dress, and then when it came back together again, it just gently gathers that sleeve cap and gives you a very lovely finish. I mean, you know, there is, let me see if I can show you. There's no puckering, it's just, you know, just perfect finish. I really love that technique, and I think whenever I'm sewing a jersey fabric, I'm always going to use it. Now, I had to really think about the finishing, the hemline and the cuffs with this dress, because I knew that the dress was cut really quite short anyway, and I thought if I roll it up, it's just going to be too short. I may have to actually fold a band and sew it onto the front, you know, to give it a kind of a sporty look, but it's going to give it some length as well. And then I decided that, seeing as I'd recently bought some pinking shears, I was actually going to use those to finish the dress. And I thought to myself, well, that's very unconventional. You know, you always see dresses that are hemmed, basically, and I thought, to hell with it. I'm just going to use the pinking shears and see what happens. So the result is this. And I'll do a close-up of the hem. Now, what it does, excuse me, what it does is it gives, usually when you roll your hem at the bottom, it gives some weight to your dress. It makes it hang a little bit better, but basically stops it from sort of riding up, etc. So I don't have that protective factor in this dress, but this is the first day that I've worn it, and I've been walking around, and actually it doesn't cling to my tights too much. It tends to stay put. Excuse me. But if I find that it really does start fraying and these pinking shears don't keep that fabric intact, then I will just roll it up and I will put a band on the bottom. And that's the beauty of experimenting. Most of the time, if it doesn't work out, you can just put it right. And I have another example of experimenting with a finish, with just a very simple white skirt that I was in the process of making in order to take on holiday with me. So this skirt is not finished. I had to get into the taxi and go to the airport, and I don't know about you sewers, but I mean, I literally sew to the very 11th hour before I have to do something with that item that I'm making. Anyway, so it basically, all it is, I was trying to do just a long skirt with one slit one side and one slit the other side. Something cool that I could pull on, although it does have some shaping here for the hips. It's got some shaping for the hips. I just wanted to sew an elastic into it and just basically fold it down. And this would be it. And then I thought, well, what shall I do with the finishing? How shall I finish this skirt? And I thought, well, I know that jersey doesn't fray. And I know that with a roll cutter, you can cut very precisely. And that's what I decided to do. So I made a very narrow seam, inside, and literally cut the fabric, cut the slits, and left them just as they are. Unfinished and absolutely crisp. So I cut with a ruler, and I made sure that the corners were really square on. And lo and behold, I was in British Home Stores a little while after that, and I saw a skirt with exactly this finish for that season, and I couldn't believe it. I just thought, wow, I'm not the only one who's sitting around thinking, with nothing better to think about than how to finish a skirt. I was really pleased with that. So these have been two examples, but I do have another example in another pattern, in one of the other patterns that I'm going to talk about. Sorry, I've had to put this back on, and my throat is actually quite sore. Not very nice, but I'm sorry. I thought if I don't make this video now, it's never going to be made. So, this next pattern that I'm going to talk about is an incredibly unattractive. It's got, if this was a house for sale, it would have no curb appeal whatsoever. First of all, the colours that have been used in this pattern are disgusting. The model's got a lovely figure, but standing in front of some incredibly uninspiring backgrounds. It is Simplicity 1945. It's the Khalia Ali collection. This is it. Okay, and I made the skirt, which I believe is this. I made the skirt, but I'm going to talk now about this wrap top. Joy, baby, move out of the way, darling. Come on, come on. Move out of the way. I know you want to be in this. I know, I know. So, here it is. So, what I love to see, and Trudy from Hot Patterns does this really well, and Trudy, I don't think you're going to be watching this video, but if I could have 5 minutes with her, I would say, make the same pattern in lots of different fabrics with slightly different finishes, because I can never get enough. She actually did that on a couple of her patterns. She's made some incredible videos of different finishes, and I still watch them, even though she made them several years ago and I've seen them 100 times. But basically that particular top I made in this jersey, and as you know, I absolutely love jersey. I'll be trying some of these on if my energy holds out. I'll be trying some of these on for you, or indeed just wear them in my next video, just to show you really what they look like. So this is in the days when I had an overlocker, and as you know, after my unexpected breakup, I went through the house, I hired a skip, it was parked on my drive. I just went through the house and threw everything away, almost everything away. And my overlocker was unfortunately a victim to that particular madness. But anyway, I did manage to use it a little bit before I chucked it out. And I want to show you how I finished this particular top. So I made a very narrow overlock. And I hope that you can see this. A very narrow overlock on the sleeve. In the main body of the top, I just overlocked and left it raw, like so. Like this. It's got stretch, although this particular fabric actually doesn't stretch much. It's really quite a stiff jersey, but it's a very fine and delicate jersey, and I have worn this top to death. Absolutely loved it. But what I've really enjoyed while wearing it is being able to just look down at my cuffs and just see that raw edge, that raw overlocked edge. I've just really liked the look of it. And paired with the quite classic print on this fabric, I just thought that it was just a nice combination of both. I made this top in another jersey, a heavier jersey. It's a marl jersey, so it's basically grey, but it's got little cream specks in it, like so. And we've got the gathers, and we've got the front piece. This piece I made curved instead of squared off like the last one. This one, it was very conventional. I decided to roll all the hems and do the bias binding, which I think I mentioned before. Whenever I have to do bias binding on anything, I'm always utterly convinced that it's not going to work. So if you give me one moment, I'm going to change out of this dress and I'm going to wear this top with the black skirt from that same pattern. So here we are. Here's the top and the skirt. Unfortunately you can't see it down to the bottom, but it does have a slit on one side. Now, believe it or not, this skirt, and here's the gathers, see? This skirt has been such a wardrobe staple. It really is the most boring thing in the world, but I've just worn it and worn it. Excuse me. That's lovely. It's just very comfortable. It's a good length. You can wear it with boots, you can wear it with flip-flops, you can wear it with flats. My legs aren't the longest though, so I have to be sort of try and, you know, extend my line as much as I can. The next pattern that I'd like to discuss with you is another really simple one. With one of those envelopes that have got drawings instead of photographs, you know, and I just, I mean, you know, one day somebody, well, they probably have collected all of these different types and styles of envelopes and the different styles of drawing and made a compilation of them. But this just screams 1990 to me. And 1990 was a great year, so I've got nothing to complain about. I made View C, which is this one here, this blue one right here. Oh, my finger is all over the place, right there. I don't really wear it with a belt, but I do love it. It's, do you know something? This is the wrong pattern. Bloody idiot. I was about to start talking about completely the wrong pattern. This is the pattern that I made, and I made it out of two different fabrics, which I'll show you in a minute. It's Kwik Sew 3801, and I will put all of this in the box below. I made View B. Very simple, very boxy. It's batwing. It's got a nice neckline, which I really liked, and I thought I'll give it a go. But the reason I bought this pattern was for the other view. I was in Sevenoaks walking along, as you do, and they've got some quite nice expensive boutiques in Sevenoaks, and they had View A in the window. It's basically, it's this one. It's just got a twisted front onto a plain back with some short sleeves sewn on. They were charging an absolute fortune for it. It was in a very fine chiffon and it had some texture to it, a very pale baby pink. Very, very nice, and would have suited some of those lovely Sevenoaks ladies very well. But I thought, actually, I can probably make that. And I found Kwik Sew released the pattern for it, but I ended up making the other one. So, I made it in this one first, a jersey fabric. It's a background with some small grey flowers on it. I was quite nervous about making this, what would you call that? A neck finish. I can't remember what you call that. I'm really not well today, so please do excuse me. And I made these cuffs. I don't know what they are, but anyway, very sloppy. You can see the line of it. Very sloppy, really nice to wear with black jeans or black jogging bottoms. Rush out to the shops in it. All it is really, it's finished with a zigzag fabric on the inside. The seams are finished with that, and just trimmed, and it's lasted really well. And I've washed it and washed it. Then I bought a stripy jersey, and I thought, I know, I'm going to try and make that same pattern in this stripy jersey, because stripes were quite fashionable. They still are, in fact. So again, this is the way it's constructed. But when I came to cut the back, I realised that I didn't have enough to cut it horizontally, with the stripes going horizontally. So I thought, okay, well, you know, when you have no option and you have no choice, you just go with what you can do. But actually, it's incredible how slimming this turned out to be, because the front is horizontal and the back is vertical. And it just cuts that horizontal thing that goes on when you've got a larger bust, etc. It just cuts it, and it cuts your body, and it really slims you down. To say that this has been one of my favourite t-shirts this summer is an understatement. I have worn it and worn it, mainly with blue jeans, but I've also worn it a lot with a nice denim skirt, which I'm going to model for you later. I didn't make the denim skirt, but I've worn this t-shirt to death, really. I believe that is all my sewing projects that I wanted to show you. I've no idea how long I've been talking for, but I know my previous video was an hour long. And sometimes I think possibly an hour might be too long. So however long this video ends up being, that's my offering to you. So I'm going to change my clothes, and I'm going to put on my denim skirt and this knitted top. So we're going into the knitted section. Now the reason I haven't modelled things onto my dress form is because I am in the process of completing my duct tape dress form, and it's something that I'd like to talk to you about once it's finished. But at the moment it's fitted over my normal dress form. I can see it there in the corner. It's been sitting there for a while. Really good idea if you actually do want to fit these clothes, but you can't fit them onto yourself and you don't have any help. Making a duct tape dress form is a really good idea. So if you bear with me, I'm going to do a quick wardrobe change after a sip of tea, because my throat's giving out. And the next outfit is coming up. So I showed you this in the previous episode. It was nowhere near finished. I hadn't even seamed it together, and I tried blocking it with steam from my iron. As I tried to seam it together, it was far too small and I couldn't get my head through the neck hole. So I went out, and I spoke about these last time, and I bought knit blockers, and I got 2 packs of these foam mats from Amazon. They were delivered really fast. I got 2 packs because I knew that I wanted to do garments and that I'd need the space. And I'll insert a photograph of how much I got it to grow as it was blocking. It was absolutely fantastic. Off the top of my head, I've forgotten the yarn I used, but I promise I will put it in the description box below. This is pure wool, and my notion of pure wool is a really itchy wool that there's no way I'm going to get it anywhere near my skin. But actually this wool, the way it's spun, makes it the softest thing in the world. And it is a lace pattern, a beautiful lace pattern, so it's perfect for this time of year. You can wear it indoors or outdoors. I mean, I've worn it with a camisole, a white camisole underneath, because I couldn't find a blue one, but a white one works just as well. And I just love it. This is the front, this is the back. It's got a V-neck there at the back, and it's sort of seamed, you know, down the side, and it's just left like so at the front. It's very good for disguising a little bit of a tummy if you've got one. I'm actually in the process of losing weight at the moment, and it just fits so much better than last month. So this is another finished object that I wanted to show you. In fact, I'll tell you who it's by as well, and I'll show you the picture of the model. It's by Sandra Nesbitt and it's called The Lowest Top, that you'll be able to find if you so wished. I have got another finished object. I can't even remember where I got this pattern from, but basically it's like a spiral scarf. In fact, when you twist it around, it spirals more and more, like so. The reason I made it is it's perfect for the transition of summer to autumn and into winter. It also is pure wool, and I'll put the yarn down in the box below. But it's light, you know, you can wrap it around you and you don't get overheated. It's not too thick. It's not going to overwhelm you. You can put a cardigan on and you can wear this over the top, and you're still able to breathe. Your skin is still able to cool off should it need to. So I really like this, and I've been wearing this an awful lot. I've been wearing it into work, out shopping, to see friends. It's the perfect thing to throw on. It's been a real great success. Conversely, I knitted something which also was a great success, but it's much warmer than this, and actually it's far too warm to wear it. But this is Entrelac. It's an Entrelac cowl, and I'm utterly fascinated with the colours of this thing. I just can sit and gaze at the colours and just feel happiness. They look like multicoloured boiled sweets from my childhood. Or this is Silk Garden from Noro, and it really is like a garden. So this is an altogether much warmer thing. It's like for proper winter. I like it for dog walking. You could put it up over your face, you know, because the wind can get really quite harsh in the winter here. I live in the countryside. I've got open fields at the back and at the front of my house, and a river running down you know, beyond those fields, and that's where I take the dog out. And I have to take her out whether it's windy or raining or snowing. She has to go out. So I'm kind of thinking about what I need to keep me warm. This Noro Silk Garden is very beautiful, but it is on the itchy side, and I'm very sensitive to itchiness. Some people, it doesn't bother them at all. I don't know how they do it. They must be a certain kind of breed, because I can't stand it. There's one more thing I'd like to show you. This is a pattern from Very Pink Knits. You'll find this pattern on YouTube through the channel Very Pink Knits. It's got a link in it where you can purchase the pattern. I believe this pattern cost me about £6, and I ordered the yarn recommended. This is pure wool again, in maroon, and it's a jacket that's perfect for this time of year. It's called 3 rectangles, 2 triangles. If you look it up, you'll find it under that name. And I absolutely love it because it's got pockets for those tissues, you know, when you've got an autumn cold. Make you feel incredibly cozy. Perfect for this time of year. Again, another great dog walking staple. So before my battery runs out completely, that's my offering to you this month. I've really enjoyed putting together this second episode. I'm so looking forward to seeing your podcasts. Keep them coming, and thank you so much for all the amazing comments that you've left me, and for those who've subscribed as well. So hit the like button and enjoy sewing and knitting for the rest of the year.